bleeding money every single week. It's around $650 a week. You only get to be the shiny new listing once. Death by 1,000 cuts. Smelled damp, felt damp, been damp. What's wrong with it? Let's make sure you're that house that sells, not the one that sits. You're getting ready to sell your Columbus house. Maybe you've already got a couple agents lined up to come pitch you. Before you sign with a single one of them, give me the next few minutes. Because the difference between a house that sells in a week and a house that sits in Columbus for 2 months gets decided before the sign ever goes in the yard. And almost nobody finds out until it's too late. Your house is going to tell you exactly what you got right and what you got wrong the moment it hits the market, in a language most sellers never learn to read. I'm going to teach it to you now, before you list, while you can still do something about it. Because in this Columbus housing market, guessing is the most expensive thing a seller can do. And here's why this matters before you ever list. A house that sits is not a house waiting patiently for the right buyer. It's a house bleeding money every single week. On a $400,000 house with a mortgage, that's around $650 a week. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, upkeep. A house that sits 60 days instead of 6 costs its owner the better part of $5,000 before they lose a single dollar off the price. And it compounds because buyers can see your day count right there on Zillow. And the longer it climbs, the more they assume something's wrong, even when nothing is. So they skip you, or they come in low. Now here's the good news, and it's the whole reason to watch this right now. None of that clock has started for you yet. You still get to decide which kind of house you are, the one that sells fast or the one that sits. That's where we're going to lock in today, before you list. Here's the first thing, and honestly, it's the most important thing in this whole video. Your first 2 weeks on the market are a diagnostic test. Your house is going to tell you exactly what you got right and what you got wrong, and if you understand how to read it before you list, you can set the whole thing up to pass. There's only 2 problems a house can have once it goes live, and they show up in completely different ways. And the tell is one question. In your first 2 weeks, are you getting showings? If your house sat there and no one came to look at it, or almost no one came to look at it, I'm going to be straight with you. That's a price problem. Full stop. It's not your photos, it's not your kitchen, it's not the season. When buyers aren't walking through the door, it means they're filtering you out online before they ever get in the car, and the number one thing they filter by is price. Your home is priced into a group it can't compete in, so the right buyers never see it as an option. We'll talk about how to fix that in a second, but that's the diagnosis. Now the other one, if you do have showings, real traffic, people walking through, but no offers come out of it, that's not a price problem, that's a value gap. Your price got them in the door, so the number itself is working. But once they're inside, something told them it wasn't worth it. And that something is fixable, but it's a different fix entirely. Treat a value gap like a price problem and you'll slash your price for no reason and still not sell. Treat a price problem like a value gap and you'll fuss with staging while the right buyers keep scrolling past. 2 different diseases, and you have to know which one you got. And before we go any further, one thing. Most sellers who end up sitting for 2 months didn't do anything wrong. No one ever taught them how any of this actually works. The fact that you're learning it before you list already puts you ahead of almost every house that's going to be on the market next year's. Now let me go deeper on the price problem, because most sellers misunderstand how price actually works and it costs them. You probably think of price as a starting point for a negotiation. You list high, someone offers low, you meet somewhere in the middle. That was true once. It's not how buyers shop today. Today, price is a filter. Buyers search in brackets. They tell the app, show me homes up to $400,000 or up to $500,000, and the app shows them everything under that ceiling and nothing over it. So watch what happens if your home is worth $495 and you list at $510 because you want negotiating room. Every single buyer that searches up to $500,000, which is a huge chunk of your buyer pool, never sees your house. Not because they looked and passed, because they never saw it at all. You filtered yourself out of your own buyer pool to leave room for negotiation that now can't happen because there's no one there to negotiate with. That's why no showings means price. You didn't price too high for one buyer to haggle. You priced yourself off the shelf that buyers are actually shopping. Now here's the single most valuable thing in this whole video, and it only works because you're not listed yet. Your launch is a one-time asset. You only get to be the shiny new listing once. And in those first days, the market hands you a burst of attention that you're never going to get again. Every buyer with a saved search in your range gets pinged. Every agent with a matching client sees you pop up. That first week is the single biggest audience your house will ever have. So if you launch overpriced, you're not saving that audience for later, you're burning it. They look, they see the numbers off, they scroll on, and they don't come back when you finally cut. You spent your best shot at the wrong price. That's why I priced to the bracket from day one. Not high with room to come down, not cute with a number that sits just above where buyers are searching. I want your first showing week hitting the biggest possible pool of the right buyers, because a home priced right and launched right often sells in that first wave, at or near the top of its value. Exactly, because everybody sees it fresh at the same time and little competition does the rest. And one trap while we're here: do not price off your Zestimate. That's a computer averaging your zip code. It does not know you redid the kitchen or that your lot backs up to a busy road. I've seen them run high, I've seen them run low, and pricing your real house off a robot's guess is how good homes end up sitting. Now here's the clock you're actually racing, and it's the reason wait and see is the most expensive sentence in real estate. There's a cliff at about 60 days, and you do not want to go over it. Nationally, more than half of listings, about 52%, end up sitting 60 days or longer. And once you cross that line, a switch flips on how buyers see you. Under a couple weeks, you're the fresh, the exciting new listing. Past 60 days, you're the house that's been sitting, and every buyer who finds you opens with the same question: what's wrong with it? Now you're negotiating for a hole you dug by waiting. So the move is never to sit and hope the market comes to you. The move is to read the first 2 weeks and act before you're anywhere near that cliff. Waiting doesn't cost you nothing. Waiting is the single most expensive decision a seller can possibly make, and it happens by default by doing nothing. Therefore, you act early while you still have leverage, not late after you've bled it away. Okay, so let's say you've diagnosed a price problem. No showing, priced off the shelf. Here's how to fix it. Because there's a right way and a slow, painful, expensive way, and almost everybody picks the painful one. The painful way is a death by 1,000 cuts. You drop $5,000, nothing. 2 weeks later, you drop 5 more, nothing. Every little drip does 2 bad things. It never actually moves into a new buyer pool, and worse, it teaches the buyers who are watching that if they wait, you'll cut again. You are literally training people to sit on their hands and bet against you. The right way uses the brackets. You cut once, decisively, and you cut into the next real search bracket where a whole new group of buyers suddenly sees your home for the first time. And I'll say this now, the numbers I'm about to use are my example, not your number. Where your bracket sits depends on your price band and your part of town. So stay with me, I'll tell you how to get yours at the end. Watch. That home at 510 that no one's seeing, you don't trim it to 505. You cut it to $499. Now everyone searching under 500,000 gets your listing pushed in front of them, fresh for the first time. One clean cut that opens a door beats 5 little cuts that just signal panic. And here's a number that should make you comfortable doing it. In 2025, about 62% of buyers paid below the original list price, almost 2 out of 3. So a home selling for less than its first number isn't really a failure, it's kind of a normal outcome. The goal was to never protect the first number. The goal was to net the most, and you net more from one smart cut early than a slow bleed to a stale pile. And one warning, because somebody always suggests it, don't play games with delisting and relisting to reset your day count to 0. Buyer's agents see the history. The portal shows it. All you do is look like you're hiding something, and now you've got a price problem and a trust problem stacked on top of each other. The market has a long memory. Fix the real issue in the open. Don't try to trick the clock. So now the other branch. You've got showings, but no offers. Value gap. Buyers like the price enough to come in, then something turned them off in person. So let me tell you where value gaps actually hide, because it's usually not what sellers obsess over. It's rarely like one big thing. It's usually a pileup of small things that add up to this doesn't feel worth it. It's the photos that oversold it, so the house couldn't live up to its own listing. It's clutter that makes good rooms feel small. It's the smell you stopped noticing years ago and every buyer notices it in 4 seconds. It's the one dated room the buyer mentally slaps a $20,000 renovation on, whether that's fair or not. Today's buyer is already stretched thin on the monthly payment. They do not have a cushion for projects, so anything that reads as work gets counted against your price in their head. The fix for a value gap is almost never to panic cut the price. It's to close the gap between what they see and what they're paying. Sometimes that's better photos and a real deep clean and clearing half the furniture out. Sometimes it's fixing the one thing everyone comments on. Sometimes it's an honest pre-list conversation about the 2 rooms that need attention before we ever go live. Cheaper the price cut, and it protects your number. The room that needs attention on before we ever go live. Cheaper than a price cut, and it protects your number. And here's a tool most sellers never touch: the showing feedback itself. Now, I do want to start by saying, no feedback is feedback. When buyers aren't leaving feedback or the buyer's agent isn't providing feedback after a walkthrough or after a tour, it's probably because it was a culmination of things and they can't really put their finger on one thing that made this house just a no-go. So, that being said, when buyers walk through and pass, a lot of times they leave a trail as to exactly why. Your agent or myself will be chasing down every single showing for the real reason it didn't become an offer. And when you hear the same note 3 times, that's not noise. That's your value gap telling you its name. One buyer says the basement felt damp. Okay, maybe. 3 buyers say it, you found your problem. And now you fix the actual thing instead of guessing. I had a listing in Old Town East, and my seller, bless his heart, was trying to do everything he could to get the house. It was a duplex, and to get it perfect, to get it ready. And I had my cleaners come in, deep clean the entire thing. We had it smelling good, looking good. We went at a very aggressive price or conservative price. We listed it low. And we had, I think, 12 or 14 showings in the first couple days, and no offers were coming through. Nobody was leaving feedback. Nothing was going on. And then out of nowhere, a buyer's agent called me and let me know that the basement looks like it has water coming into it. And then a couple agents were late to give their feedback, and everybody kept saying that there was moisture in the basement. And it's like, the basement is bone dry. Like, I've been in it multiple times. It's never had any moisture. It's never smelled damp, felt damp, been damp. Where is this coming from? Well, the seller, trying to be proactive, plugged a humidifier in downstairs and never connected the hose to actually drain the moisture that the humidifier is pulling out from the air into like an actual drain and route it out away from the basement. So the humidifier was sucking moisture out of the air and dumping it on the floor. Not fun. Kinda tanked our first week on market, but it ended up correcting itself. We got it figured out. We got the humidifier changed. Unfortunately, we were still in that first 14 days. So the showings, were still consistent, and I let everybody know that we had fixed the problem, and they came back and they looked at it, and we actually ended up getting it sold in that first couple weeks. So it all worked out. But if you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it. And if you have a problem, sometimes it's silly. Sometimes it's something that is just so easy to fix, but it is really sticking in buyers' minds. So when you get feedback, you need to address the problem. If you're not getting feedback, you need to figure out why. That's your agent. That's your agent's job. Here's the frame that ties all this together. The same one I give my buyers. The Columbus market has lanes now. It's not one market, it's 3, running at 3 different speeds. A clean, updated, well-priced home under $400,000 still moves in days, but a home over $600K or anything that needs work is sitting 50, 60 days. In Westerville right now, nice homes are averaging 52 to 64 days on market. So before you panic that your house isn't selling in a week, ask which lane it's actually in. If you're in a slower lane, a longer timeline isn't proof something's broken, it's just the lane. But here's the flip side. In a slower lane, your price and your prep matter more, not less, because you don't have a stampede of buyers covering your mistakes. You have to be sharper. Knowing your lane tells you whether to be patient or whether to move, and that's the difference between a smart seller and a stressed one. Quick proof, so you know this is grounded, not just me talking. Across Central Ohio, homes are averaging 29 days on market. But that average hides everything because the lanes move at totally different speeds. Westerville specifically, 52 to 64 days for nicer homes. Nationally, 52% of listings hit 60 days or longer. And 62% of buyers in 2025 paid under the original list price. Put it together and the picture's clear. Sitting is common, cutting is normal, and the sellers who win are the ones who read the first 2 weeks and act early instead of waiting to become the stale listing. Now, I need to talk to you directly, or some of you directly for a second, because some of you watching this are already listed, and everything I just walked through is landing a little too close to home because your house is one of those ones sitting right now. First thing, I'm not here to get in between you and your agent. You signed an agreement. I respect that completely, and I would never step on it. That's yours to honor all the way through. But when your listing expires or your relationship with your agent reaches its natural end, I would be happy to sit down with you and do exactly what we just talked about and worked through in this video together. Diagnose the real challenges you ran into and build a plan to relaunch it the correct way. And that relaunch matters more than people realize because a new listing with a new agent is a genuine reset. New photos, a new marketing strategy, and your days on market go back to 0, which wipes out that stale listing problem we talked about earlier and gives your home a real second chance at a first impression. Your family and your home deserve the best shot at this, so when the time is right, my door is open. So let's bring it home. Go back to you, 3 weeks in, no offers, everybody with a theory. You don't need their theories. You need the one question. Did you get showings? No showings is a price problem, and you fix it with one clean cut into the next bracket, not a slow bleed. Showings but no offers is a value gap, and you fix that by closing the gap, not by torching your price. Read your first 2 weeks, know your lane, and act before that 60-day cliff. That's the whole game, and it's completely fixable once you stop guessing. So here's the one thing I did not give you in this video. Your number. I gave you the rule, price into the bracket from day one. I did not give you where the bracket actually sits for your house because it's different in Westerville than it is in Grove City. And being one bracket off is the whole ball game. So before you list, before you sign with anybody, comment value or go to betterhomestrategy.com/home value and I'll send you the exact number your house should launch at to sell fast instead of sit. No pitch, just the number. I'm Adam Guy with Next Home Experience. My phone number and email are in the video description. Let's make sure you're the house that sells, not the one that sits.